you started your question, so I had the similar thing. Not only ASEAN, but what about neighboring Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan? How does the Seven Sisters fit into the Lucas doctrine, and will Britain benefit from it? Thank you, sir.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. There was, of course, Manoj Jhaji is from Bihar, and that is also, I consider, a part of East. And our defense expert has very eloquently spoken about the Indo-Pacific, the strategic importance of Indo-Pacific. The lady here, Ms. Han, she's spoken about the economic aspects, and I completely agree. There is one thing which I would like to explain to everyone else, is that we're talking about India. India is just not a singular entity. India is not about, and when you come to London, we don't expect only to see the Britishers. We see different cultures, we taste different cuisine. But India is far bigger than that. So what works for you in, let's say, Hyderabad? I see a lot of people from Telangana here. What works for you in Hyderabad may not work with someone, this lady who's from Canton. There are different rules. What works in Uttar Pradesh need not work in Tamil Nadu. So one has to understand that what are you coming to India and dealing with? Does the future of India lie in its big cities? I think they're saturated. That's why we have a lady like Angela Rayner, who's from Stockholm, and she's probably projected as a leader for the future. We have our honorable former minister and someone I really look up to, Salman Khurshid, and he's from Farooqabad. So I don't think that the idea of India lives in the cities anymore. It did to simplify things, but no, I don't think so. Now here, let's look at it from a strategic point of view. I'll talk about politics later, because I need to also get back to that. We cannot forget our original profession. But let's talk about strategically. China is a threat. Everybody says China is a threat. Where is China a threat? In Uttar Pradesh. No. Is China a threat in Nepal? Absolutely. They are controlling the entire influence of China is there. The Chinese influence in Myanmar, which is just next to us. The China coming into Sikkim and the Finger area, taking in territories from Bhutan. China looking at influencing through Asian Development Banks in Bangladesh. China coming and taking over a port of Sri Lanka. China having a huge amount of influence and blocking India's entry into ASEAN countries. China will not defeat us through military. China will economically starve us. And what are we doing in the Eastern Theatre? You know, England and India have a shared history. We talk about colonialism. I grew up in a school. I studied in a school which was Irish Brothers. You have a Welsh mission in Shillong where 80% of the children have been born. You have Loreto Convent. You go to Darjeeling, you see St. Paul's, Godhals. The entire education system in the East was not done by the government of India. It was actually by the British. The health system in many parts of the East have been actually created by the missionaries who are also British. So to say that just because somebody in Madhya Pradesh is uncomfortable with the idea of British colonialism does not mean that it actually affects us in the Northeast. The Northeast thinks differently. We in the Northeast are actually asking for a separate time zone from the rest of India because we would like to go with the Assam tea time because the sun rises a lot earlier. So for productivity issues, we want a separate time zone. So to completely say that India is this, and because the national media's obsession, and Manoj Jha, we would the national media's obsession with what is happening in New Delhi, or what's happening in Mumbai, or what's happening in Bangalore, does not mean that a person from Bhagalpur, or a person from Tripura, or a person from Meghalaya or Mizoram have a lesser life. And the justification that I hear is, oh, but your population is so less. I'll give you an example. This election, can I have a mic?
वो कहते हैं ना कि माइक बंद करने से आवाज बंद नहीं होती, अमिताभ बच्चन नहीं कहते. So the entire obsession. So I'll give you an example of the recent election which happened in Goa. Goa's population is smaller than that of Manipur, but all the national TVs were in Goa. They have lesser amount of legislative seats, but they were all in Goa, and they cover Goa more than Manipur. So it is not about population. It's about how connected you are with another part of India. I'm very happy that I'm sharing the stage here with Manoj Haji. My sister is married in Gumrao. We have a long history with Darbhanga. And we've actually, there was a time when everybody said, oh, Bihar, Gunda Raj. Arey, wo to Bihari hai. You know how much it does to hurt the conscience of an individual in that area? So I would urge Britain, England, you have a deep connection with our part of the world. And kindly do not ignore that. When you talk about trade, trade need not be only manufacturing jets. Our region is pristine with mountains, rivers. Why don't you look at tourism? You will not be able to compete with a Taj or a ITC in Bombay or Delhi. But you could look at tourism in our part of the world. You could look at agriculture. You could look at trade. There is a road from Manipur which goes all the way up to Thailand. Who built that road? It was not us. It was definitely not Nitin Gadkari. It was General Stilwell. It is still there. These routes need to be explored. Linkages to Bangladesh. We all look upon Bangladesh, some people even call them through different names, which I will not say here. Bangladesh's economy is growing far faster than ours. In fact, their output is far more than ours. Can we ignore such a big population? Can we identify a population purely on the basis of how they look, what they speak, or which religion they preach? No. So if India needs to actually come up in the global forefront, India will need to get away from this national state politics. Yes, there was a time when we needed to assert ourselves. Shashi Tharoor has done it many times in the British Parliament and also. But beyond the rhetoric, there has to be productivity. What is that productivity? The productivity is why is everyone doing business in China? We can all talk about human rights. We can all talk about lack of democracy. But the ease of doing business is faster there, it's easier there. But when it comes to Britain and India, not only have we inherited civilization, we have also inherited a deep-rooted bureaucracy which is in India and it's in Britain. And that's why the problem I don't see is between the politicians. I see it more between the red tapeism which exists. Coming back to our region, now coming back to what Manoj Haji was saying, of course we need people-to-people contact. Of course we need to have a dialogue. We have inherited a constitution which is